Hello, we are Hitting Cancer Below the Belt. Welcome to our Fight Right podcast to help you create a bodily environment where cancer is challenged to survive. Today, we are honored to have Melissa Terese Young, a breathwork facilitator and teacher here in the Richmond area. Welcome, Melissa.
Hi, Mindy. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for helping us to raise the level of conversation about cancer prevention. So I know you're a breathwork facilitator. You're a true professional because we've done some work together in the past, so I know all about your work. But I really want to start by just talking about why the breath is so important. Why is it so powerful for overall wellness?
Yes. Well, everybody breathes, basically. And I know that sounds funny. Kind of a joke there, but actually, literally, it's not. And because of the breath and what it's actually made to do scientifically for your body, your whole biology makeup of what the breath does makes it an extremely powerful tool that barely people actually think about. Your breath actually controls every function of your body, right? And we don't think about that. Everywhere from how the breath flows into your lungs and regulates your blood flow, sends neurotransmitters to your brain, how you think, to controlling, of course, anxiety and stress, your heart rate, for example.
Wow, I've never really thought about the breath as an actual tool and a tool for overall wellness. We are a cancer prevention organization, so we understand how important stress reduction is, especially for cancer patients and survivors, as well as to prevent cancer. What is breath work, the role of breath? What's that role in regards to cancer prevention?
Right. Well, it's a lot more than most people think. So the breath, has always gotten noticed through philosophy and stuff like that as a meditation device, et cetera, et cetera. However, a lot of people don't know about the studies and stuff done around it, specifically Dr. Otto Warburg back in 1931. He won a Nobel Peace Prize for discovering that in an over-oxygenated body, certain cancer cells, let's say, or tumors actually were inhibited in growing. So that kind of led to that aha moment where they were like, oh, hey, what if we started trying to do oxygen-type therapies, et cetera, et cetera. Not that one study specifically led to breath work and what we do today. It's actually an ancient practice. Back in ancient times, they used breath again through yoga and meditation. But that study specifically kind of launched it into the medical field, especially the Western world, where we don't normally think of the breath as a tool or a skill set for prevention. And that is actually a lot of what I preach. It's about preventing that state of physical turmoil where a tumor can grow, right? So the breath can actually help the prevention of that, which, of course, is part of what you promote. It's about prevention, finding it early and taking care of your body physically along the way, wellness.
And again, our whole Fight Right initiative is, again, to help create a bodily environment where cancer is challenged to survive. So you're sharing with us just exactly how important the breath is to actually calm the systems down and also create an environment where those actual tumor cells have a really hard time surviving. So we're in our Western modern world, the breath is talked about, you're right, in meditation, obviously practiced in yoga, even in chiropractic care, when you're with a chiropractic, take a big breath in and then they could do the procedure. Even during massages, breathe. The massage therapist will tell you to breathe. However, I think breath work is still overlooked in regards to what can be done on a day-to-day basis throughout the day, just for the general public, as they're driving in their car, as they're walking down the street, as they're having a conversation, as they're sitting at their desk in the office. So, why do you think that is that we haven't really fully grasped the importance of the breath, except in certain practices here in the Western world?
Right. I find a lot of people in life tend to not do the most simplest things. The things that are right there in front of you, right? It's a lot easier to go work out for an hour at the gym or, et cetera, et cetera. So the simplest things sometimes seem to be the hardest. And for breath and what we actually will call conscious breath practices, now instead of not necessarily breath work, because that's considered more of a breath therapy, but just conscious breath practices that you can do throughout the day can be so helpful. Just taking that deep breath in and allowing it to connect into your system. And again, as I bring in some of the science here to help make everyone understand, that breath, yes, it flows through your body and your lungs, and it's actually detoxing your organs, goes through your blood, and then the blood flow comes back up, is pumped through your heart, and comes out of your lungs. And most of what you exhale, it's about, say, 86% of the toxins in your body. The other piece of it, and why the breath works, as it regulates every function in your body, is that it connects directly into your parasympathetic and your sympathetic system, right? And if I say the thing fight or flight, everybody knows what that is, but they don't really think about what does the parasympathetic and sympathetic systems do. Well, one of it's for your fight or flight, to have you run away from that bear, right? When we were all cavemen and that bear was chasing you to eat you, And the other part of it is that parasympathetic system is actually set up for your healing. That's what regulates your body, helps you calm down and puts you in that restful state so you actually heal. Well, the breath is actually what helps regulate that entire system throughout your body. And that's why it can be so powerful in your healing and wellness and that entire homeostasis of yourself.
Yeah, that sympathetic nervous system is so interesting, because if you really think about when you're stressed and when you're anxious, or maybe even if you're, you suddenly get startled or jolted for some reason, you don't take a deep breath. Then, if anything, you breathe in quickly, and it's from the chest, and it's just it's quick, and it's it's shallow breathing and quick breathing. So you're so right, that sympathetic nervous system isn't really truly connecting to a deep breath that is cleansing, detoxifying, and helping to calm everything down. So can you give us an example of what I hate to say it, but a quote unquote correct breath or a full breath actually looks like? What is that?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm going to take you back to when you were born. When you were a baby and came out of your mama's belly, we all took that first giant breath and we cried out. And guess where that breath came from? It came from your belly, your tummy. And that's where all of us now have actually forgotten to breathe from. We come up and we are the chest breathers into the lungs, which, by the way, there's actually nothing wrong with that. You're oxygenating your body. But to actually connect into your whole system and to really kind of start regulating that stress, anxiety, that feeling is actually if you will go back into that deep breathing into your belly. So that deep breath all the way down into your belly. And when that happens, if everyone now is probably taking a breath since we're bringing this up, is you can actually even feel it. And that oxygen is going, all into all those beautiful internal organs. Again, collecting the toxins and bringing it up into your lungs and the exhale. And also connecting into your entire central nervous system. That, again, hooks into all those systems that actually regulate your body, all the way up and down your spine, to the top of your head, to the bottom of your toes.
I'm actually deep breathing as I'm listening to you, so you're exactly right. I was taking large breaths, and you can actually feel it. You're right; it calms everything down.
Right.
The diaphragm. The diaphragm is supposed to expand, correct? When you take a deep breath, it's not supposed to come in. So explain that, because a lot of people, when they take a deep breath, they bring in their stomach, which is actually the opposite of what we should be doing, right?
Right. I mean, you should feel it. Yeah. You should feel that oxygen. Take in that oxygen and enjoy it.
Yeah.
Take that deep breath. Yeah.
Filling that diaphragm full of fresh, good air. What are some simple strategies our listeners can implement throughout the day? Is it like a push away from the desk for 3 minutes, or are there actual benefits that can be derived by something even more basic?
I tell people the first step one is actually to start with just conscious breathing. Remember to take that deep breath like you're doing now, because of course we're talking about breath work. So just starting that, following your breath, like through your nose and down through your throat. Where does that breath go? But also my big, I guess the thing I advise to my patients and my groups and everything is a 7-minute breathwork practice. So 7 minutes, I tell them actually to take that deep breath in for 7 seconds and then exhale for 7. And to actually do that for 7 minutes at a time and 3 times for 7 minutes throughout the day. Now, the reason why this formula works, by the way, is another research study. Dr. O'Hare, he was a French scientist and doctor who actually studied the formula for that, the deep breathing, and how long and why that works. Well, if you can actually breathe for that amount of time, and it's actually very simple, right? 7 minutes. If you can breathe for 7 minutes. It actually releases those feel-good endorphins throughout your body and reduces your cortisone levels, the stress hormones, right?
Right.
So if you can actually regulate it for just that amount of time, it works between 4 to 6 hours. So that's why they say to do it 3 times a day. You know, so you start with a 7-minute breath practice in the morning. 7 midday, let's say before you go to lunch, because then you're over-oxygenated and you're able to digest your food, which, by the way, will benefit you in not being tired. A lot of people get groggy in the day, right? And then say maybe before you go to bed. In their study, they actually found just 7 days of doing that practice was profoundly helpful in a person's wellness, reducing anxiety, but just in their overall attitude, well-being, changing thought patterns, things like that. So I recommend the 7 because I like that number, 777, and 7 seconds for each breath, in and out.
It's interesting because, you know, we talk a lot about hydration and how important that is. A lot of most folks are walking around dehydrated. They're not quite even aware of it. And so we understand that can lead to fatigue, brain fog, that sort of thing, inability to concentrate. Obviously, if you haven't eaten a good quality meal, you know, that can also lead to, a slow decline in your function throughout the afternoon, that sort of thing. But I'm hearing from you also maybe a very anxious, stressful morning or a 2-hour meeting where you really haven't been taking full breaths and you've been concentrating and working on those shallow breaths instead. You're basically stating that can leave you very tired, very tired.
Yeah, exactly. But you can also use the breath to wake yourself up. You can do faster breathing patterns too. So it's not necessarily for to make you calm in that reduction. You can use the breath to wake yourself up too. Again, breathing the same pattern, but just increasing the pattern of the breath. You know, breathe faster if you need to.
So you're a facilitator and a teacher. Tell us more about the types of classes that you offer.
Yes. So I always offer one-on-ones and privates. And then I offer group practices where you come in and you breathe together in a group. I have a clinical breathwork practice where people come in and just get their little power punch. It's a 45-minute more of a clinical, like medical one where you just get your little breath push. And then I have a more ritualistic or spiritual one that I call ceremonial breath work, also because it connects into body, mind, and spirit. You know, your breath is your God-given gift to life, so it can bring up that beautiful spiritual connection. So that would be my spiritual offering. And then I love doing really neat combinations. For example, I do an acupuncture breath work with Dr. Jamie McLaughlin here in the Richmond area. I offer a CBD or a hemp oil breath work that is, you know, very healing for people to come in if they're curious and can try hemp oil if they never have, and the breath. So those are some of the offerings that I share with everybody.
Can you share a story of success? I'm sure you have several, but of one in particular that maybe just really touched your heart, of someone who's just really received a lot of benefits because of this type of work?
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
There were so many, but the one that was very touching to me was a Vietnam veteran, and she had neck surgery. And she comes into a group, and she had not laid down, so she had to breathe sitting up. Normally with my longer hours, by the way, you actually lay down, but she had to breathe sitting up because she says to me, I haven't been able to lay down because of my neck pain and my surgery. And so she came to that first session and breathed, and it was, really fabulous for her, I guess, because she came back the next day. And she breathed again and didn't really see her at that point. But on the third session, she came back and she laid down for the first time. And I didn't realize it at first. And then afterwards, I saw her. And she said, thank you so much, because this has been the first time I've actually been able to lay down on my back for 5 years since her injury and her surgery. Wow. So it was that profoundly healing for her. And I think that was definitely one of my most memorable, touching experiences.
Wow, so this really reduces pain. This
It
can
does.
reduce pain.
Yeah, it reduces pain because, again, when you over-oxygenate your body, hacks into that system, gets those chemicals or endorphins, or I'm not using the right word, but it's actually a natural anti-inflammatory, your breath, when it works correctly with your whole homeostasis.
With the little bit that we do at HCB2, we'll do like small little breathing meditations. And so we just like to say it calms the systems down. But we really had no idea that the breath could do all of this. And we thank you so much for taking the time to come in and record this podcast. Where can people find you here in Richmond?
Yes, I actually work out of my home currently, but I go to yoga studios and do events. I do a lot of in-home stuff, corporate things like that. But you can find me, though, out more about me on my website, breathworkworldwide.com. I post all of my group events on Meetup under Richmond Breathwork and Meditation Group. Of course, I have a Facebook page under Breathwork Worldwide, and my public page, Melissa Terese Young. Again, post all the details of where I'm at, and my services.
Melissa Terese Young. You can find her at the Meetup groups. You can also find her at breathworkworldwide.com. Is that correct?
That's correct.
She's here in Richmond, and she is partnered with HCB2 for many events, and we have just found her to be tremendous. Thank you for listening to the HCB2 Fight Right podcast. Till next time, be well and fight right.